ॐ तव कथामृतं तप्तजीवनं कविभिरीडितं कल्मषापहं श्रवणमङ्गलं श्रीमदाततं भुवि गृह्णन्ति ये भूरिदा जनाः. Welcome to the Friday scripture class. And today's scripture is the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna. Today is a very special day. Actually, today is the Sri Panchami Tithi, that is Saraswati Puja Day. Actual Tithi is today. In India, it's already done. We are doing on Sunday. So the weather is not good in Toronto that day. There is a lot of snow, so we are planning to do whether we can do it earlier. Then we planned at 11 and finish earlier. So let us hear tomorrow the weather forecast for Sunday, and then we'll decide how to manage Saraswati Puja on Sunday. Today also is the birthday of Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose, a great freedom fighter of India, great leader, not only a leader in a political sense, but a very great follower and admirer of Swami Vivekananda. So very auspicious, important day for the Indians who love India, and also as Saraswati Puja Day or Sri Panchami or Basanta Panchami is a day of worship of Divine Mother Saraswati, the goddess of not only of learning, but of music, songs, dance, and speech. So we bow down to Mother Saraswati and begin today's scripture class. Today's class in the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna is on page 454, and the title is Festival at Surendra's House. It was on 15th June 1884 that was recorded, and Sri Ramakrishna was visiting Surendra, who was one of the foremost householder disciple of Sri Ramakrishna, who was very devoted to Sri Ramakrishna. And there had come the Keshav Sen had already passed away, and there was visiting in that house a friend of Keshav Sen, another leader of Brahmo Samaj, Pratap Chandra Majumdar. And he was visiting. Sri Ramakrishna is conversing with him, the one who participated in the Parliament of Religions in Chicago in 1893 later. So today, this year is 1884, about 9 years before that. He was so devoted to Sri Ramakrishna, and he also had heard about Narendranath. The success, glory, and popularity of Narendranath or Swami Vivekananda in Chicago, he became jealous and started going after him to malign him in many ways. Something it happened in Chicago in 1893. But earlier he was uh, quite admiring Sri Ramakrishna and Sri Ramakrishna's views, as he was a friend of Keshav Sen, and Keshav Sen was an admirer of Sri Ramakrishna and followed many things of the philosophy of Sri Ramakrishna. So let us continue today's this from this chapter, Festival at Surendra's House, page 454, the paragraph, first, second, third paragraph on the page. Next, the conversation turned to the quarrels among the members of the Brahmo Samaj. They had a misunderstanding about the right to preach in the temple after Keshav's death. Master to Pratap, I hear that some members of the Samaj have quarreled with you about the altar, but they are most insignificant persons, mere nobodies to the devotees, Sri Ramakrishna is saying. People like Pratap and Amrito are like good conch shells, which give out a loud sound, and the rest, about whom you hear so much, don't give out any sound at all laugh. So the eloquence of Pratap Majumdar and others, Amrita, Sri Ramakrishna compares with the conch shell, which when blown give a good sound. Like that, they were the good speakers, and others were not so profound speakers. So he compares them with they didn't make the good sound. They are conch shell with no good quality. So that's how Sri Ramakrishna uses the comparison of good conch shells with good speakers like Pratap Chandra Majumdar and Amrita. Let us see what Pratap comments to that. Pratap, speaking of sounds, even such a worthless thing as a mango stone makes a sound. So, as Sri Ramakrishna said, others are not worth. So, he compares the big conch shell sound and he brings the sound of mango shell. This mango stone has two mango seedlings, mango, this two part of the mango seed. And when it rubbed and made the sound, the air is blown through it, it also produces sound. So anything can make sound. Anybody can lecture. And Pratap also was very inspired by Sri Ramakrishna's comparison of other lecturers with other sound system which produce sound. And he says even worthless thing like the mango stone also can produce sound. He was definitely was elated with Sri Ramakrishna's comparing him with the big good conch shell, and others had different instrument through which when air passed produces sound. And he degrades Pratap Chandra Majumdar as all are worthless like the mango seed which can produce the sound. Other people. So he was elated by that, comparing him with a good conch shell. Master to Pratap. One can very well understand the inner feeling of a teacher of your Brahmo Samaj by hearing his preaching. Once I went to a meeting of a Hari Sabha. The preacher of that day was a Pandit named Samadhyayi. And can you imagine what he said? He said in the course of his sermon, God is dry. We must make him sweet and fresh with our love and devotion. I was stunned to hear these words. Then I was reminded of a story. A boy once said, at my uncle's house, there are many horses. Oh, yes, his whole cowshed is full of them. Now, if it was really a cowshed, then horses could not be kept there. Possibly he had only cows. What did people think on hearing such an incoherent statement? They believed that there were surely no such animals as horses in the shed. Laughter. A devotee. True, sir, there were not only no horses, but possibly there were also no cows. Great laughter was there. So, what Sri Ramakrishna means here is when some speaker talks about God, we're not realized or are not closer to God, will say God is dry. That makes Sri Ramakrishna uh, very unpleasant said that is known that he doesn't know anything about God. So the person who was talking about God as God is dry and we have to make him sweet and fresh by our devotion means the person doesn't know about God at all. God is the very nature of sweetness. He is called Raso Vaisa. He is Rasa, his sweetness. So and the Pandit calls him he is with dry. So that doesn't match with the quality of God. So that person has not been drawn. Gives the story of a boy saying, "In my uncle's cowshed there are many horses." So people understand when such story is said. So there is no single cow, single horse, because horses are kept in stable, not in cowsheds. So there are no horses in his uncle's house. So that is known because of his incoherent speech. And there was huge laughter. And another person adds, perhaps there was no cow also at all because he was saying horses are there. So nothing was there. He was just making blank story about his uncle's richness, wealth, etc. So, by what one speaks, Sri Ramakrishna says, he understood the content of his mind. So, there is nothing special in his mind, no realization, no devotion has grown. So, that's why this incoherent word about the God has come from them. Saying that, he says about the other people who talk about sermon in the Brahmo Samaj. So practically supporting this Pratap Chandra Majumdar. When you speak or Keshav speaks, then there is some stuff in you, because you are devoted to God. You have a depth of towards understanding about the divinity and spirituality. That's what shares in your speech. But when others speak, there is no depth. That's why the story comes. There is nothing there, and they are just talking, and that is expressed and exposed in the way they speak. Their inner stuff is exposed in the way they present the subject matter. That's what Sri Ramakrishna says. So this was Samadhyayi, a devotee, etc. Master, just fancy to describe God, who is of the very nature of love and bliss, as dry. It only proves that the man has never experienced what God is like. That's why he just made it that we have to have devotion to make God as interesting something. If he never had experienced God, as Jnani people say, God is something not connected with us, so it's pure consciousness, and has no idea what consciousness is. Consciousness cannot be there without the bliss. Consciousness and bliss go together. And the person only hearing about consciousness, God is consciousness, the person says, no, we have to make it more blissful, more juicy, more lovable by adding love, our hearts love to God, and God feels juicy, attractive, charming. Otherwise, God itself is not connected at all with us, so doesn't know about God at all. So that's what Sri Ramakrishna says, that people who don't have any connection with what they speak incoherent, incorrect words like that. It only proves the man had never experienced what God is like. But because Sri Ramakrishna knows God, because the scriptures describe about God, God is Rasa, Raso Vaisa, Rasagum Hevayam Labdva, Anandi Bhavati. Because God is Rasa Swarupa, is the Swarupa of the charm, beauty, Satyam Shivam Sundaram God. So when one reaches God, when attains God, it becomes there is lot of bliss. Raso Vaisa Rasagum Heva Aya Abdva Anandi Bhavati. Ananda Bhavati when you reach God. To Pratap, let me tell you something. You are a learned and intelligent and serious minded soul. Keshav and you were like the two brothers, Gaur and Nitai. You have had enough of lectures, arguments, quarrels, discussions, and dissensions. Can such thing interest you anymore? Now, gather your whole mind and direct it to God. Plunge deep into God. So he wants to give Pratap's mind a turn towards real devotion, to go deeper into the thought of God, into God realization. Instead of quarreling about the lecture, we'll give lecture in there. He wants to really direct Pratap, because he was an intelligent man. Keshav's friend, Keshav was also devotee of God, to right direction. Now, don't get into the argumentation about this lecturing and all that. Be a real sadhaka. Try to experience the bliss of God yourself. That's why he says, dive deep into God. So that's what Sri Ramakrishna's intention was, to say Keshav, to show Keshav the right path. Now, what to Pratap, right path? What Pratap says, yes, sir, you are right, said Pratap. That is surely my only duty now. But I am doing all these things only to perpetuate Keshav's name. This Pratap also knew that Sri Ramakrishna had very good liking, he used to love and like Keshav. And when he says he's doing only for case of Sri Ramakrishna, would be happy to hear that. So that's why he says, I'm doing all this. I should all be now devoted to God, but I'm doing all this lecture and all this thing to perpetuate Keshav's name. So master the smile. No doubt you say now that you are doing all this to keep his name alive. But in a few days, you won't feel that way. Listen to a story. A man had built a house on a hill. It was only a mud hut, but he had built it with great labor. A few days after, there came a violent storm, and the hut began to rock. The man became very anxious to save it and prayed to the God of winds, O God of the winds, please don't wreck the house. But the God of the wind paid no heed to his prayer. The house was about to crash. Then he thought of a trick. He remembered that Hanuman was the son of the God of the winds. At once he cried out with great earnestness, O revered sir, please don't pull down the house. It belongs to Hanuman. I beseech you to protect it. But still the house continued to shake violently. Nobody seemed to listen to his prayer. He repeated many times, Oh, this house belongs to Hanuman. But the fury of the wind did not abate. Then he remembered that Hanuman was the devoted servant of Rama, whose younger brother was Lakshmana. Desperately, the man prayed, crying aloud, Oh, this house belongs to Lakshmana. But that also failed to help matters. So the man cried out as a last resort, This is Rama's house. Don't break it down. O God of the winds, I beseech you most humbly. But this too proved futile, and the house began to crash down. Whereupon the man, who now had to save his own life, rushed out of it with the curse, Let it go. This is the devil's own house. Like that he was changing after one after another. So like that thing, when it was crashing, it didn't hear, no prayer worked. Now it is Shalar Ghor, devil's house. So because nobody knew, God didn't listen to protect it. Like that you are now saying that you are doing to do Kesav perpetuate, to perpetuate the memory of Kesav, but that will not always be there. There will come your own wish, you will want to become yourself famous. That's how you will work. Keshav will be forgotten in time. Now you are saying you want to do Keshav. That's not a very deep thing in you. It is all about your own personal interest. So, like that, it will change your idea about perpetuating Keshav's name. And the story, the man was praying one after another God to protect the house, God of winds, Hanuman, then Lakshmana, then Rama himself. And then finally it was not going, then what to do? Nobody's house it is. It is devil's house because it was shaky and it was falling down, it crashed. So saying these words, the master sang in his sweet voice, Dive deep, O mind, dive deep in the ocean of God's beauty. If you descend to the uttermost depths, there you will find, oh sorry, before this, to Pratap. You don't have to perpetuate Keshav's name. Remember that he achieved all his success through the will of God. Through the, through the divine will, his work has established. And through the divine will, it is disintegrating. What can you do about it? Now it is your bounden duty to give your entire mind to God, to plunge deep into the ocean of His love. Saying these words, the Master sang in his sweet voice that song, Doob, 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 Roop Sagore Amar Mon. O mind, dive deep in the ocean of God's beauty. If you descend to the uttermost depths, there you will find the gem of love. Go seek, O mind, go seek Vrindavan in your heart, where with his loving devotees, Sri Krishna sports eternally. Light up, O mind, light up true wisdom's shining lamp, and let it burn with steady flame, unceasingly within your heart. Who is it that steers your boat across the solid earth? It is your Guru, says Kubir. Meditate on his holy feet. So, this is a beautiful song that Sri Ramakrishna used to love this song. So, the last paragraph says, boat is moving on the solid ground. How can boat move on the solid ground? By what power? Boat to move needs water, and here one boat is moving. So, what power can move boat on the solid ground? So, it is the power of your Guru's grace. So, think of Guru, meditate on the Guru, think of your heart as Vrindavan. You will find there Krishna. Dive deep into the ocean of God's beauty. There will find the gem of love of God, uh, and lamp the light of God's knowledge in your heart, and that will unceasingly it should burn. Three or four examples of how one should meditate on God. Meditate on God as Krishna in the heart, which is Vrindavan. Wherever you remember Krishna, that is Vrindavan. Meditate on the light lamp of a flame of a lamp in your heart, and wisdom is shining there, and then is think for your guru's feet, that meditate on a guru whose power can move the thing that cannot move otherwise. That is, you will progress towards God by the grace of Guru. So all this together, Sri Ramakrishna sang this song to inspire Pratap Chandra Majumdar not to fall in the quarrels of who is great, how to perpetuate, but rather to proceed to sadhana to realize God and find the real purpose of life, real joy of life by meditating on upon God. The master continued addressing Pratap. Did you listen to the song? You have had enough of lectures and quarrels. Now dive deep into the ocean of God. There is no fear of death from plunging into this ocean, for this is the ocean of immortality. Don't think that this will make you lose your head. Never for a moment harbor the idea that by thinking too much of God, one becomes insane. Once I said to Narendra Pratap, who is Narendra, sir? So here, first time he said he heard about Narendra. Thakur asked him to dive deep into God. We have tried to develop love of God, and that's the purpose of life. He didn't do any of that. He always wanted to have name and fame. He already had traveled to Europe and America. When the Parliament of Religions came, then he came to represent Brahmo Samaj. Instead of representing Brahmo Samaj and being happy and very happy by seeing a young man from his own country, from his own Bengal, has been so famous and accepted and loved and admired by all, he became jealous of Swami Vivekananda. So he could not develop love of God. Jealousy was so big in him. So otherwise, if he had become real devotee of God, he would really be happy by seeing the glory of Swami Vivekananda who had come there to preach the Hinduism. And the glory of Hinduism could have been the glory of Brahmo Samaj also, because Brahmo Samaj draws all inspiration and teaching from the Upanishads, which are the main books of Hinduism. So, but he became so jealous, and that was the thing that he didn't listen to what Sri Ramakrishna had advised him. And he heard the first year in 1884, he had heard the name of Narendra. So that was here. And Sri Ramakrishna continues about the Narendranath become insane. And there was this thought was going on there in Too much thinking of God, one becomes mad, gets insane. So Sri Ramakrishna said, don't believe in things. God is the very nature of consciousness, of awareness. How can one become with lack of awareness by thinking of God, who is the source of awareness? Don't believe when people say thinking too much of God, he had become insane. In fact, to Sri Ramakrishna, people used to say that way. Where will you find people thinking so much of God other than Sri Ramakrishna? Others were like Keshav Sen, this Pratap Chandra Majumdar. They were the other leaders of spirituality, religious leader, or those are the leaders of spiritual world that time, religious world. So people used to call Sri Ramakrishna thinking too much of God has become like insane. So don't believe in such thing. Thinking of God will have no wrong, nothing wrong will come by thinking of God. You become more wiser, you become more alert, more happy by thinking of God. There is no question you become insane by thinking of God. Don't believe such words. These are also another thing that what people are saying, like saying that God with form is different from God without form, formless and God with form. Like that, also Sri Ramakrishna always emphasized to the people there, and this one he emphasized especially to Pratap Majumdar. Later on, when he came to so much of, he had written a lot of an article praising Sri Ramakrishna in India. Went back to US after about a decade in that parliamentary religions time. And Swami Vivekananda, disciple of Sri Ramakrishna, became so famous. And then he started criticizing even Sri Ramakrishna. He started writing article, he started writing against Swami Vivekananda, against Sri Ramakrishna. Like that, he became totally out of jealousy. He became totally, that is the insanity. When you say one thing one time, another thing another time, just with prejudice, with start saying incorrect words with prejudice. So that is the thing, that worldliness is the thing that creates insanity, not love of God or thought of God. Master, oh, never mind. There is a young man of that name. I said to Narendra, look here, my boy. God is the ocean of bliss. Don't you want to plunge into this ocean? Suppose there is a cup of syrup and you are a fly. Where will you sit to sip the syrup? Narendra said, I will sit on the edge of the cup and stick my head out to drink it. Why? Said I. Why should you sit on the edge? He replied, if I go far into the syrup, I shall be drowned and lose my life. Then I said to him, but my child, there is no such fear in the ocean of Satchidananda. It is the ocean of immortality. By plunging into it, a man does not die, he becomes immortal. Man does not lose his consciousness by being mad about God. So, this story he says, we had certain idea. When you plunge in something, some syrup, we die. But what syrup is that? Is it the sugar syrup, water, or honey, or something that we stick, or is it nectar of immortality? When one jumps into it, person becomes immortal. We cannot think of that. The nectar of immortality. So, like that, people too much thinking, we think only worldly things, too much thinking of worldly things, we go crazy. But thinking of God is so different from thinking about the worldly thing. Thinking the nectar of immortality is so different from any other liquid. So, any other liquid, fly goes and it drowns. But immortality, one becomes immortal. Like that is the idea about God that Sri Ramakrishna want to impress upon, to teach Pratap. God is so different from the world. So we cannot even find out, imagine the quality and characteristics of God, because we compare everything with our knowledge of what we got, get subject object about the worldly objects. God is not the object. God is subject. So we cannot really think about the God as God is truly is. We have to try to think of God as is embodied or with some form like that. Otherwise, it is difficult. That's why Vedas say God is beyond thought. We cannot think God as it is. So it is said, Avang manasa gocharam. Mind cannot go there. Mind cannot think of it as God is. So we have to make, as Sri Ramakrishna says, you cannot make ornaments with 24 carat gold, pure gold. It just folds. So you have to mix some other elements to make it 20 carat, 22 carat, and then it is hard enough to make the ornament. Like that, God, as true God is, you cannot think of it. So when God comes as a human being, so it has already has become the object. You see the image of God, you can see the image of Avatara, then you can think upon that, meditate on that, and that becomes like an object. So that is how we can think of God. So that's what Sri Ramakrishna says about the idea about God. So God is the nature of pure consciousness, and one cannot become crazy by thinking of God. We have the idea of thinking of money, thinking of some person. People become crazy here. Only money, money they want. So like that, thinking of land. Oh, I want to grab this land, that land. So many things you hear in the news. Thinking of this land, that land. So like that, people becomes like somehow crazy about thinking of worldly things. Any worldly things, too much thinking of worldly things, money, son, daughter, husband, wife, too much of thinking about that will make one crazy. So, but about God it doesn't happen. As much you think of God, you are still short of God, nature of God. So by thinking of God, you don't get crazy because you do not think of God and you think of worldly things. That's why you become crazy. So those who think too much of God and seem like mad. Shankaracharya also says that one realized person lives in the world like a madman. Unmatto api charati avanyam. Mm, mm. Like that, the person is like balavadvapi, pishachavadvapi cha balavadva, unmattavapi charati avanyam. Realized souls lives like a ghoul, as a child, or a mad person, because his thoughts are all about something that world has no concern, and he has no concern for the things of the world. He doesn't. Now Sri Ramakrishna saying mati taka taka mati, money is earth and earth is money, takes in two hands and throws both. Now money being thrown without giving him any value, anybody will say he's gone mad, because he's not giving value to money. Everyone thinks money is so important. You have money, you have very happy life. Then you can buy anything, you can do anything. That is the only source of happiness in life. More money, more joy, more peace, more traveling. Like that, you think. So, but Sri Ramakrishna says it is useless, like earth, like a clod of earth. So material people will say he's gone crazy, but that crazy is because you don't know the value of the worldly thing. For a man who has realized God, who has seen God, who has come closer to God, earth has no, the worldly things has no value. So, and that person seeing no, giving no value to the worldly things, think he has gone crazy. But that crazy is that unmattavapi, like a unmatta person, like a crazy person, he lives in the world. But that craze is giving the real value to the worldly things. When we become wiser, we also will be like that. There is no real value in the things of the world. It has certain value, but not the ultimate value. It cannot give us the joy that we seek, unsullied, unfading joy that cannot be given by money, by fame, name. Nothing can give that joy. It's all hollow joy, hollow happiness. Real solid happiness is in understanding your own nature, your own soul, which is God Himself, coming closer to God. So that's why people say it that way. So Sri Ramakrishna says, never believe a man when he says the person got mad because he's thinking about God a lot. Too much excessive thought about God has made him crazy. Don't believe such thing, it doesn't happen. God is the very nature of consciousness, alertness. How can one become crazy like that? to the devotees. The feeling of I and mine is ignorance. People say that Rani Rasmani built the Kali temple, but nobody says it was the work of God. They say that such and such a person established the Brahmo Samaj, but nobody says it was founded through the will of God. This feeling, I am the doer, is ignorance. On the contrary, the idea, O God, thou art the doer, and I am only an instrument. Thou art the operator, and I am the machine, is knowledge. After attaining knowledge, a man says, O God, nothing belongs to me, neither this house of worship, nor this Kali temple, nor this Brahmo Samaj. These are all thine. Wife, son, and family do not belong to me. They are all thine. So that is the wisdom when one has realized it comes. Everything belongs to God. Everything happens by God's will. Ego becomes less and less. The more of ego is a sign of ignorance. The less of ego is the sign of getting wiser. And when ego is totally gone, you see God doing the thing. Then there is wisdom has come, God realization has come. That's why Sri Ramakrishna, when people ask, is there a free will? He says, when you are ignorant, there is a free will. When you have realized God, there is no free will. All is God's will. Because who is the doer? Nobody says God, by the will of God, Kali temple was established. People say Rani Rasmani built the Kali temple, but it seemingly seems like that. But by the will of God, Rani Rasmani, and the power given by God, Rani Rasmani could build the Kali temple. So God is the real doer, and people say Rani is the doer. The work I do also is God making me do. That's why I do. Otherwise, people will think I am the doer. That is ignorance. I am the doer. Thou art the doer. That is knowledge. Shokoli, the Bengali song is there. Sri Ramakrishna loved this song. সকলি তোমার ইচ্ছা ইচ্ছাময়ী তারা তুমি তোমার কর্ম তুমি করো মা লোকে বলে করি আমি. Oh divine mother, you do your work and people in ignorance say that I am the doer. That's why he says, the people, wise people will say, you are the operator, I am the machine. Ami jantro, tumi jantri. I am the machine, you are the mechanic, you are the engineer, you are the runner of the machine. Whatever you run, that we do. Now car is going very speedily. So is car going by itself or some driver is running the car? The people in ignorance, so the car is moving so fast, like that thing people will say. But it is the person who is driving the car, like it is God who is driving this our body and mind. The whole world is being driven by the will of God. So Brahmo Samaj was not established by someone, but by the will of God. Brahmo Samaj was established. That is knowledge. That is the awareness. Otherwise, we will say Brahmo Samaj was established by Raja Ram Mohan Roy. So when we say Sri Ramakrishna established Ramakrishna mission, that is true when you compare Sri Ramakrishna with God. But we say Swami Vivekananda established Ramakrishna mission. Swami Vivekananda would come, he would give a big slap on your cheek. What are you saying, like ignorant? Did I establish this? The Sri Ramakrishna did all the thing through me. So I was just an instrument. He said that when I had to go to Kali temple, the Sri Ramakrishna sent. It was a big plan, big day for Sri Ramakrishna, and he accepted Kali. And she was so happy. Naren has accepted Kali. There was it there to accept Kali. Why he was so happy and Naren has accepted Kali? It was because Naren accepted that it is Kali or Divine Mother that is the real doer of what Narendra is. Now, no more Naren working through the body of Narendranath, body and mind. It is all God is working through his body and mind. That Naren has accepted. His ego has diminished. Now God has taken power. And who is that Kali? He says, Kali has made me slave, and that Kali is Sri Ramakrishna. He said, go and ask from Mother Kali. Whatever you ask, she will give. How can he give assurance that? If he was not one with Mother Kali, how can you say whatever you ask today, Mother will grant you? He has to be same with Mother Kali, no? And he went there and asked the thing and could not ask what he had to ask. After doing so much of drama, going 3 times, going, coming, and 2 times forgetting, another time not able to ask so much little thing of money, food, etc., then she came to Sri Ramakrishna. And Sri Ramakrishna says, don't worry, you will have no dearth of simple food and coarse clothing. He could have said in the beginning, say, go and ask Mother Kali. If he can grant that, why didn't he grant early? He could have done that. But all was this big drama going on. So, and after that, really, he had no problem with things to feed his family, mothers, sisters, and sister and brothers, and there was no problem. They never became rich, but there was all food given. Sri Ramakrishna assured, and Narendra also knew. He said, "Go and tell to Mother Kali. If you tell, Mother Kali will give, will grant." He already had accepted Mother Kali that time. What does that mean? You go and tell to Mother Kali on my behalf, and if you tell to Mother Kali, she cannot say no. Mother Kali is already accepted, but Naren has accepted Mother Kali. Is that Mother Naren's now ego has been replaced by the divine ego. Now God is working through him. That's why Sri Ramakrishna was so happy. Now that Swami Vivekananda says, Mother made me slave, seeing my difficult time. Mother made me slave of herself. What is making slave? There is no you. Narendranath is no more there. Narendranath's intellect is there, but ego is not there. It's all God working through the body and mind of Narendranath. Who is that God? God who is manifested Mother Kali, manifested with Sri Ramakrishna, now has made the Narendranath's body, mind, intellect as the instrument, and work is doing all what is to be done. Now Ramakrishna Mission has to be established 1st May 1897, and Narendranath proposes, let us do that. But who is that Narendranath who is proposing? It is Sri Ramakrishna himself, who it started in 1886 and said, Narendra, see that all live together, make an organization. Years, he said that, you are the leader. Now already Narendra, whatever he gave. And Guru Bhais, disciples of same Guru, all they're listening to Narendranath as if Narendranath is their Guru. Whatever he says, you worship, you cook, you become manager, you become this, everyone without any question. And one Swami was worshipping Sri Ramakrishna very diligently, day and night. As Sri Ramakrishna living presence he could feel. And he says, Shashi, go to Madras to preach Vedanta and the teachings of Sri Ramakrishna. No question asked. Such used person, okay, he goes to Madras. No language known, nothing known, and he goes there to preach Vedanta. Who does that way? If in Sri Ramakrishna's command, people could feel, his other disciples could feel it is like Guru's order. People say once that Baburam Maharaj was incident there, Sri Ramakrishna, that Sarat Chandra Chakravarti had come, and he wanted to worship Narendranath as Guru. And he went to the temple, and there was wants to wash his feet, and where to wash? There's a plate has to be brought. Sri Ramakrishna, the plate that was used for the worship of Sri Ramakrishna, that was brought, and the Guru Sisha said, "Put your feet there." He put the feet, and then he started pouring water on the feet of his Guru, Narendra, Swami Vivekananda. And Swami Vivekananda says, luckily Baburam Maharaj is not here, otherwise it is sacrilegious. Sri Ramakrishna utensils and plates, you are using my feet, what will he say? He will become very angry with you. And Baburam Maharaj came just at that moment. He entered the temple, old temple in Birmingham, the second floor. And then he says, no, he's doing the right thing. Is there any difference between you and Sri Ramakrishna? That was their idea. How that happened? That's what Naren Kali Menese. Naren has accepted Kali. That is, Kali has become the ruler and mover of Narendranath from that evening. That was so important for Dharma Chakra Pravartana, as they say. The great teachers come to revolve in motion the Dharma Chakra, the cycle of Dharma in a new mold, new way. So that is what is Narendranath or Swami Vivekananda is supposed to do. The Dharma of unity of mankind and not the distinction or separation of caste system, casteism, hierarchy of casteism, and service to humanity. All is Sri Ramakrishna. Shiva Jnana Jiva Shiva, once Sri Ramakrishna said, now Narendranath makes that big and makes that motto of Ramakrishna Mission, Atmano Mokshartham Jagat Hitaya Cha. Who is that making all that? All is Sri Ramakrishna that is seated in the heart of Swami Vivekananda and making him move and speak and work as he wants. That's why rightly she said he has a little ego of Swami Vivekananda, whatever was there. He said, from that day, seeing my difficult condition, Divine Mother, Mother Kali has made me slave of herself. And he said that out of great joy and understanding of the work of God, he had become, because his ego was replaced by God's ego, he has become divine. That's why we say Swami Vivekananda, Holy Mother, and Sri Ramakrishna are three manifestations of God, three, one in three, equally, and three in one. If we worship and meditate on Swami Vivekananda, we are meditating on Sri Ramakrishna, no difference. Meditate on Holy Mother, worship Holy Mother, is worshipping Sri Ramakrishna. And Holy and Narendranath. All three are together. We worship separately, but all in worshipping one, we worship all three. Like that is the philosophy of Ramakrishna Mission. Three in one and one in three. To love these objects means things, possession, and relations. To love these objects, regarding them as one's own, is Maya. But to love all things is daya, compassion. To love all things. So loving particular, saying that this is mine and this is not mine, this is yours. So making your circle smaller. That is Maya. You have been caught by ignorance. Maya means ignorance. But when you consider whole world as your own, as Holy Mother said, learn to make the whole world is your own. The whole world is your own, your child. No one is a stranger. And that is called daya, compassion, that comes from knowledge. Maya, this narrowness comes from ignorance. To love only the members of the Brahmo Samaj or of one's own family is Maya. To love one's own countrymen is Maya. You see how Swamiji said, Sri Ramakrishna made patriotism is also limitation. It is not everything. To love one's own country is Maya. But to love the people of all countries, to love the members of all religions is daya. Such love comes from love of God, from daya. So daya is compassion. Maya and daya, they rhyme. So that's why he uses the word daya. Daya is knowledge, equivalent to knowledge. So you are man of knowledge, if you can make everyone as your own. And you confine yourself to a smaller degree, then you are under ignorance. Only this is mine, others is not mine. And that can come to your family, your own things, and even to your country. This is my country is great, and all others are different. My religion is great, even only my Ishta is great, only Sri Ramakrishna is great. It is against the thought of Sri Ramakrishna. That's why we have to equally love and worship and respect all the incarnations of God. Sri Ramakrishna, Jesus, Rama, Krishna. When you make any distinction between the incarnations of God, then that becomes ignorance, and Sri Ramakrishna doesn't become happy with that. When you include everyone and include all religions and respect all religions, then we are right. because all religions have come, Sri Ramakrishna clearly said, by the will of God. No one, not one individual created one religion. Hmm? Not that one prophet came and said, from today, this is the religion. By the will of God, that prophet was chosen to create that religion for those people. So consider all religions are important for this world because every religion is suited for particular community, particular time, and particular place. So those are important for to guide those people. Otherwise, there will be vacuum. And by the will of God, that has come. So don't say that religion is bad. When you say that, then you are in Maya. Ego has come there also. You only love my own country, then it is ego. Love your country and love all countries. Love your own people and love all people. So then it becomes daya or real knowledge. That's why Sri Ramakrishna's broadness has come from there. Let us conclude today's talk, today's class from this wonderful note of Sri Ramakrishna. Love all, that is daya, and love only a few, that is maya or ignorance. Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Tat Sat Sri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu Jananim Saradam Devim Ramakrishnam Jagadgurum Padapadme Tayo Shritva Pranamami Muhurmuhu. Good night to all of you who are online, and good night to, and we'll have, yeah, after we finish the class, then those who are present today, braving this chilling winter, yellow notice, orange notice, braving that, all who have come, we'll all have simple dinner prasad after this class. Good night to everyone. Jai Hind.